I'm Brad, and I've been a tour guide for nearly 10 years. It's been my pleasure to show the best that my country has to offer to the hundreds of guests I've hosted over the years. Now you get to be my guest as I take you on an eco tour of paradise. Hey guys, welcome back for another exciting episode of Brad's Bahama Eco Trip. I'm Brad, and today we're featuring Ben's Cave. Okay, Ben's Cave is what we would call a karst system, similar to the cenotes that you will find in Mexico. And karst is basically defined as a type of topography that is involving the dissolution of soluble rocks such as limestone, gypsum, and dolomite, and a drainage system essentially that will filter the rainwater. So we get about 60 to 110 inches of rainfall in the Bahamas, in the northern Bahamas I should say, and that rain will filter through the island, and while the acidity is being drawn out of the rain and ultimately the fresh water is collecting on top of the salt water in our caves, there's a weak acid being formed called carbonic acid. It slowly eats away at the limestone. So that powder will settle on the top of the water, completely harmless. This is in fact the water that we drink on a regular basis. As a matter of fact, this island has literally millions of gallons of fresh water that's being stored from the rain. And caves like this one in particular have went on to be quite famous. Okay, this cave was at one point the longest charted underwater cave in the world, with about 6 miles being charted. Now, a very long time ago when we were formed, the Bahama Islands, caves like this were etched out due to erosion and other geological phenomena like post-glacial rebound and glacial isostasy, as we discussed in previous videos. Now, these types of geological phenomena would have etched out certain parts of our very, very soft, porous rock and formed these natural wonders. Now, the fresh water literally sits on top of the salt water because it's less dense, and in the middle of the fresh and the salt we have a brackish middle area known as the halocline. The halocline, some fish look at a young age, acclimating their gills to breathing fresh water. And then be able to exist in this fresh water, not necessarily being able to come back for too long into the salt water. Now we can find mangrove snapper in caves like this, along with other types of marine life. We have freshwater eels. We also have the Speleonectus lucayensis, or the swimming centipede that I would have mentioned in the previous video. And even grouper that you can find that have not transitioned into the fresh water, so they remain in the salt water just below. So there's a healthy amount of life that you can find in Ben's Cave, and fish that have transitioned through the halocline and acclimated their gills to breathing fresh water would be a little different than the mangrove snappers that you would find in the creek, in that color is less needed in the cave, so they're a little paler. Their growth is relatively stunted, and their diet would obviously be different than that of the ones that are found in the creek system. Now we get some migratory bats that would visit from the southern Bahamas in the form of the buffy flower bat. We do have around 12 species of native bat you can find in the Bahamas, and they find their home, a temporary home that is, in caves like Ben's Cave to have their young in the summer, where it's much cooler in the northern Bahamas, as well as we get significantly more amounts of rainfall. Now, interesting facts about bats. Bats basically hang upside down because they have to drop into flight. Okay, they can't really take off from the ground flying. As well as bats have a special circulatory system that flows one way, so when they're hanging upside down, they won't have the issue of their blood cooling into their head, as one might imagine. Now these bats have a diet of nectars and fruit and so forth, as well as other species would eat insects. Now, a very interesting aspect of this cave as well is that it was used, or portions were filmed in here. I don't know how much was actually used in the movie, but a film called Never Say Never Again. It was a James Bond film starring Sean Connery, 1983. There was some filming that took place in this cave, so it's a relatively famous cave in that regard, whereas Ben Rose, the person that the cave is named after, he was able to supervise on the portion that was filmed in here. Now these caves eventually open up wider the entrance to them, because most of the caves we find in the Bahamas would be just slightly above sea level, so you have to go down into a lot of our caves, like Ben's Cave. So in the case of the foliage, vegetation that will be growing above the surface, root systems could loosen the weakened structural integrity seen in the cave, and the sheer weight of the tree possibly being toppled over by hurricanes and so forth will collapse portions of the entrance. So this would have opened up a lot wider than when Ben Rose would have initially been the first to explore this cave. Okay, right here we have the leather leaf fern belonging to the genus of Polypodium. And these ferns tend to grow very close to water. They are one of the largest ferns that we do have in the Bahamas, and they're found right here in Ben's Cave. Now they have specialized tissues that conduct water and nutrients. They definitely grow in moist environments, and they differ from mosses in the fact that they're vascular. Right, so definitely one of the more interesting types of vegetation that you'll find in a cave system. I'm glad I got to share this part of my home with you. If you've enjoyed the tour, be sure to click the like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Maybe I'll see you on our shore soon.